For gratenbrick.
Yes, I am. That's usually what happens.
So tell me about this. How did you get into this, first of all?
Well, I've always wanted to be involved. My very first memory was meeting a Roman reenactor when I was 5 years old, and it just really stuck with me. And ever since then, I've always wanted to do it. And I do Roman reenactment as well. This is one of many time periods I reenact. But what we're doing right now is essentially the late Saxon era. So this is shortly before 1066.
Okay, and how many members have you got in the outfit?
Presently, we got three, all representing three different social classes. I'll go. Oh, may I have the mic? Yeah, thank you. Sorry, this is actually the first time I'll get to use a mic, and it's pretty cool. I'm liking this. I'm going to talk to my group about getting me one. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so right on the field we have three different social classes. What we're going to do is they're going to have a light play while I talk through them, because it's nice and hot and they need to warm up. So if you guys want to start doing so. So the one who's looking like he rolled out of bed, but he lives in a very dirty bed. That one there is Eric. He's got his hands on what we call a two-handed spear, but it's just a 9-foot spear. So he is what is called the Fjord. The Fjord is essentially free folk, so they're folk that do work their own land. It's a small plot of land. They'll have somewhere that they sleep and live and look after their families, but they are still enthralled to a lord. And essentially, as a free man, he is expected to take part in the defence of his home. So if a battle comes over, if, for instance, an invading force comes or a pillaging force comes and the Lord calls for it, he is expected to grab a weapon and join the army. I say army at this point, it's more like a big motley gang, and defend his home. So Fearman, if you want to join in and show some examples. So he's got what we call a 9-foot spear. The spear is king at this point. Every person would own and use a spear. Spears are amazing weapons to use together with multiple people. So right now he's fighting by himself, which is really not good for him, because a spear does not do good, especially against an armoured warrior. But if there was another spearman, like the one currently running behind, working together, attacking from multiple directions, the spear basically allows you to fight at a distance and allows you to kill someone as far away from you as possible. That increases the likelihood that you're going to live. It's essentially a long stick with a knife on the end. So they're working together, they're coming at the knight from different angles. It's the only real way to get him. For most spearmen, a spear is pretty much the only thing they could afford. Everyone would have had a knife, what is typically referred to as a sax, or sayax. However, most people didn't actually have these big ones. They would have been much more smaller, utilitarian type things. So the other one we got, so that was the Fjord, is another member, technically a member of the Fjord, but this guy is more, shall we say, or how would you describe him? As you can clearly see, he's got more colours, he's got better equipment. Basically, he's more of a freeman, but he's more of a trader. He can support himself much better. He's not tied so much to a lord. He doesn't require the lords to help him survive, help him with land. This one in particular is a scribe, so he's got nice soft hands. Doesn't do much work in the field. That's why he's also quite clean. What he's using is what we call a single-handed spear. Again, these are more modern terms. Spears were just whatever length you wanted them back in the day. So his one is about a fist or half a foot above his own head, and he's also using a shield. Because he's a much more well-equipped fighter who's been trained, he's got a much better education, and he's more likely to have had some experience taking part in an actual line fight. As someone who takes part in a line fight, that means he's also entitled to some of the spoils if he's done a good job. So he's much financially better, not greatly better, but as you can see from the state of his equipment, he's good enough that he can actually pay for some decoration, he can pay for some metal work on his sheath, his shield, and unfortunately, as it always goes, the more money you have, the better equipment you can get, the more likely you can live to spend it. Eric there, who's got very little, has got a very low expectancy to survive.
How is it? Is that really good? Oh yeah.
So go on, Wilfred, get in there. You and Eric have a play. Let's talk about the guy in armour. Let's talk about the actual interesting one. My lord, he who I serve. So this here is Saxy. Saxy is currently what we call a thane. A thane is essentially lower class nobility, is the earlier form of knight. Thanes were appointed, so they got their position from the work that they did improving themselves. Any higher, and you were someone who inherited, and you inherited because you were related to a king. Saxy got appointed to being thane because he was what is known as a huskarl to Edward the Confessor. So he did such a good job that he earned the position of nobility. As a huskarl, he was the